Yeah, good discussion here that we're going to have. Joining me now is Greg Burt with the California Family Council. I'm great that you're able to take the time. Good to meet you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We are here in Michigan, and I have a lot of people following me from around the country, many of them in the Midwest. And I know growing up, and even when I was younger, many people in Michigan would say, oh, whatever happens in California, even with trends, with clothes or sneakers or whatever, they're like, oh, it's going to make its way over to Michigan. And lately, a lot of people have been concerned what's going on in California. And I actually know some people. I went to Nashville, Tennessee recently and ran into so many people that have moved from California to Tennessee. One thing that I got your attention, that caught my attention, was legislation involving school districts talking to parents if they have students who are transitioning or their pronouns. How did this all start? You give me a little background before, but
Right.
give a little background as to what we're talking about.
Well, it happened the Department of Ed put out some advice to school districts regarding what happens when a kid wants to change his gender identity, wants to change his name, his pronouns. And the school said, hey, if that happens, you need to make sure you protect that kid's privacy and get his permission on who gets to know about the new name and pronoun. And that even means the parents. And so they started telling schools that it was illegal for teachers to tell parents that their kids had transitioned at school to a whole new identity. And so this is about keeping secrets. And so this is starting to happen in more and more school districts. The more California tells kids, every kid gets to pick their gender based on their feelings. It's not unsurprising that more and more kids are doing it, but now this is all kept secret. So there were some lawsuits filed that some school districts lost their lawsuits. We even had the teachers union involved in training teachers how to start LGBT clubs.
Let me pause. I'm assuming you have proof and documentation and all that was going on, right?
Oh yeah, a writer named Abigail Schreier did a whole investigative piece. She got a recording of the teachers union doing these trainings. It made big news, at least here in California, about these. We have lots of activists who are eager to change the way kids think about their sexuality and their gender, and they're persuading lots of kids. And their only impediment to their plan is parents who might object.
Okay.
Right. And so we thought, hey, we need to introduce a bill to push back instead of just being on the defense all the time. We should, and we came up with this idea to do a simple bill. It was a notification policy that would just require that if a kid is asked to change their name and their pronoun at school, letting everybody else know, you should let the parents know, right? Parents know about everything else. You got to get permission to go on field trips, to take an aspirin, right? Parents know everything. And they shouldn't. They are the guardians. They have the legal responsibility to protect and guide the upbringing of their own kids. And we thought notification policy should be a no-brainer. But the legislature here flipped out. They said it was hateful, that kids would be in danger if parents found out. All these irrational talk about dangerous parents. And so we ended up ignoring the legislature and put together a coalition with a bunch of parental right groups. And we introduced notification policies that local school districts could introduce. And we convinced about 10 different school districts in California to pass a notification policy. As predicted, the Attorney General filed lawsuits. The superintendent of education protested and complained, said this was illegal. But then the state court started deciding in our favor. And we had a federal court down in Escondido, Southern California, down by San Diego area. We had 2 teachers down there that filed a lawsuit against their school district because they didn't want to follow the secrecy policy. Wow. And the judge decided in their favor.
Wow.
And with those 2 lawsuits, and we were winning, then they decided, well, we need a law.
Okay.
So they introduced a bill at the beginning of June or late May. It was AB 1955 that made it illegal to have a notification policy requirement for schools. And it also protected teachers. You couldn't punish a teacher for keeping a secret about secret gender identity change of their own kids. So we have a lot of activist teachers, you might imagine, who are eager to tell kids they can be whatever they want, right? And then when the kids decide that, they hide it from parents.
Was that signed into law?
Was signed into law a couple weeks ago by Governor Newsom. And one of the big people who came to our side and condemned it was Elon Musk.
Yes.
I saw that. But Elon Musk said, that's it. I'm leaving California. I'm taking my remaining companies. And I'm going to Texas. And so that blew it up worldwide. And so what's happening? And here's what you have to do with these policies. For years and years, Republicans have just voted no, but have not pushed back, right? Okay. So we have started this fight. You think this bill is bad, but this is what they were doing anyway. Yeah. And parents didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Right? All this secret transition. No, we're not secretly transitioning your kids. Well, now if you make it illegal, then what's that for? Right.
So where does it stand now? I mean, it's law. Is there?
It goes into effect next year, but there are 2 lawsuits against it. There's okay. The school district, the original school district that passed the notification policy has filed a lawsuit to stop the bill in federal court. And then that original case down in Escondido, where the judge decided in the teacher's favor, he's asking the judge to make that a class action suit that includes parents and other school districts. And so if he does, then the decision of the judge will now apply to all the secrecy policies, and it will allow teachers and school districts to notify parents about something as significant as changing your gender identity at school. There's no reason parents should be left out. Even if the parent disagrees, they're going to find out anyway. Secrets do nothing but destroy relationships. And it trains a whole generation of kids to be skeptical and to think of their parents as dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a lot of people would say, it's hateful to oppose this or something, but you're not saying, or people on either side are not saying they're anti this, anti that, but you just want transparency and a free flow of information. For example, if my child had, broken his leg or something on the school playground, I want to know, as a parent, right. You would want to know everything about your child.
Right. Absolutely. And, if we really believe in liberty, right, in this country,
yeah,
part of that liberty is every parent gets to raise their child in the values and the religious beliefs that they want. That's part of why people come to this country. They want to raise their families in their own values. And there's a particular value that the state government here in California is determined to be dangerous. And what's that value? Telling your kid what their gender is based on biology. That's the dangerous belief.
Where did this, and I've been asking people, and I don't know if we know, where did this come about? Where did we get to this point where the government, and was it the teachers unions? How did it escalate to this level? Do you have any background? How did we get here? How did it become such a thing?
It's been a slow progression over the last 2 decades. I mean, I think once you change the civil rights laws to include protections for things like gender identity, which is only based on somebody's personal feelings, right? And then you protect that, right? So if a kid's feelings are now protected based on his gender identity, then you got to protect them from everybody who might disagree with that, right? And including their parents. But a lot of kids, listen, you go through puberty. It's not fun. Your feelings are all over the place. Some people don't like it, right? And to tell a kid that, your feelings determine your identity is is what causes them to be insecure, right? It causes total confusion. And for a kid who, has a particular like for, things that girls particularly like, a guy who's into drama, or maybe he's artistic, right? He shouldn't question his gender, his sex, because he's doing things that typically girls like. No, sex is the one thing you should be sure of right from birth. It's the one I'm not sure if you have any kids.
Yeah,
I got three kids.
Two kids.
And one of the first things you tell a kid is you tell them, well, they know how old they are, they know their name, and they know what sex they are.
It's on the birth certificate.
It's on the birth certificate. So do we not? So what are we doing? Is should we not be telling our kids that what their sex is?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not giving up on that belief, and I don't care what a state government says to me. And the state government has an obligation to protect my liberty to pass those beliefs on to my kids. I'm not dangerous.
I've done stories on this before, and you probably had people counter you and say, well, the reason we need this is because if someone changing their gender identity or transitioning, they can't come out to their parents could beat them, their parents could unhouse them, make them homeless, or beat them or something. What's your answer when you hear that argument?
Well, you could say that to almost anything you tell a parent. Any uncomfortable news, the kid is addicted to drugs, you got to tell the parent. The kid has a bad grade at school. The kid gets in a fight or he's bullying kids, right? Bad parents react badly, right? And so if there's a parent out there who's abusing their children, beating them or kicking them out of their house, we already have a system in place to deal with parents like that.
That's the place. And that's within the schools. I am assuming it's nationwide. Mandatory reporters are teachers, guidance counselors.
If a kid believes that if his parents find out and he's fearful of his safety, you react the same way. If a kid, no matter what, a kid feels in danger at home, automatically you call CPS. Right. It doesn't matter what the reason is. But this is different. This is everyone is suspect. You don't make a law taking away parental rights because some parents are bad, right? That would be like taking away, we don't treat teachers that way. Like one bad teacher doesn't make us assume all teachers are sex abusers. True. Right? True. No. So it's irrational. It makes no sense. It appeals to the emotions, and nobody stops to think, now, wait a second.
I'm in Michigan. And some people think, oh, California, it's all blue, it's all hardcore left. But I think it's important to realize there's organizations like yourself, but you also have teachers, parents who have come forward. You're not all of California is on that side of things. You do have a lot of people who are supporting you in your efforts, right? Yeah,
we are. I mean, I always tell people, more people voted for Trump in California than Texas. Do you realize that?
Yeah,
we got almost 40 million people. I mean, how many does your state have?
And we have a population 11 million.
We know a lot of the conservatives are fleeing, but there's a bunch of us who are staying and fighting, right?
Yeah.
And we got, and I'm sure there's hardcore leftists in your own state.
Oh yeah.
So, but obviously we're encouraging people to stand up even when you're outnumbered. Because that's what they rely on. They rely on people thinking the state's lost. There's nothing you can do. You might as well just flee to a different state, right? Yeah. No, you got to stand up. There's plenty of conservatives here in California. We're not going anywhere. And we need, don't think everybody's crazy. I know it's everybody likes to do stories on crazy California, and there's plenty of crazy stories, but that doesn't mean it's the totality of what the state is or does. It's just the if you look at a map of what countries are red versus blue, you can see the entire coast is blue and the entire central is red.
Yeah. What advice would you have in Michigan? Like I said, some of the issues you're dealing with yourself in California are starting to make it appearing in Michigan. whether
Right.
it would be advice to parents or school districts, because many in this state right here are just starting to deal with these concerns now. What advice would you have? Why, either it be school districts or parents or school board members? How would you advise them if they're starting to encounter these sort of things?
Well, talk to your teachers, talk to your administrators. You got to get comfortable going to school board meetings. I know. Listen, I understand. No one wants to deal. We also want to live our lives. We want to have our jobs and come home and have vacations and have a great life. But we live in a democracy, and that negligence towards watching what our government is doing is producing all of this. Right? There are people who are eager to transform the culture, and they are taking advantage of us not being involved. And so you got to be involved. We're in a republic where we have representatives that we pick to govern us. You got to get back involved, right? That's the only answer. It's not an easy answer, but you got to realize, okay, if I want to save my country for future generations, I can't simply run to the red states.
True.
Because eventually the blue people are going to come to your state too.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do? You got to train yourself to be speaking up, getting hold of who are your legislators. Here in California, most people don't even know who their state legislators are.
They probably don't here as well. I do because I'm in the mix of things.
Right.
You ask the average person, and heck, some people didn't even know who Kamala Harris was when you would ask them. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, by the way, I want to ask. You may not be able to answer this. You're in California. Have you ever had any dealings with Miss Harris or VP?
Not personally.
Okay.
I remember. I do remember when. I'm not sure if you remember this scandal. The guy named David DeLeiden. He was an undercover pro-life reporter, and he saw this huge industry where Planned Parenthood was making a ton of money by selling their aborted baby parts for research.
I remember that.
And you're not supposed to sell those babies for money, but he uncovered this whole system where research facilities would call a middleman, ask, hey, I need some spinal cords and lungs of a certain age. And then these middleman people would go out to the Planned Parenthood clinics and harvest the baby parts and then sell them for lots and lots of money. He went in and exposed that in undercover videos that went viral. Kamala Harris, instead of like, hey, Planned Parenthood, this is illegal. What are you doing? No, they went after him. They raided his home, got a hold of all the videos, and then they helped file lawsuits against the guy for uncovering corruption within Planned Parenthood.
She was attorney general.
She was
correct?
attorney general during that time. Yeah.
Okay. I know that was off topic, but I just thought about it because you're in California, and a lot of people don't know about her. So that's just
right. Well, she's from San Francisco. I don't know what that place is, the most liberal place on the planet. And for whatever reason, that's where Newsom came from. That's where Pelosi came from. That's where Governor Brown, and now Kamala Harris. So
wow. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and letting our viewers know, and I will let everyone know and put the word out that all of California is not, like you said, you had 40 million people vote Republican in the last presidential election, and I think people don't realize that sometimes, that it's not just all this or that, and I don't like people stereotyping things.
Hey, that's right. We're not all fruits and nuts.
Thank you very much, sir.